And welcome, Mindsetters, to this session of Learn Extra Live for Grade 12 Maths Literacy. Hope you guys are ready, got your pens and pads out, and you're going to make notes. I'm Ty, and I've got Peter here with me. Who's taking us for today's session? Peter, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Ty. Absolutely fantastic. Been a great week.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit worried about our matrics at this stage because, matrics are coming to an end of their schooling career. But I want to give you a bit of advice out there, matrics. Remember, your last day of school is not the last teaching day. Your last day of school is after you've written that final exam. And so some matrics think their last day is coming up very shortly, and so some of them are doing silly things like not going to classes, arriving late at classes. I've heard of one school where a guy brought a chicken to school and let it run around the courtyard and all kinds of weird and wonderful things just to play practical jokes. And yeah, school must be fun, you must have great fun, and I endorse that fun. However, if it interferes with your studying, you got a problem. And guys, today we are going to tackle a real difficult problem, okay? We're going to be looking at different tables, and we're going to try and draw information from tables, and it also includes a bit of finances. So it should be a good session. Quite a brainy kind of, what's going on here? But it should be quite good. In fact, it comes from a worksheet that I gave my matrics, and I want to tell you, they battled with it, eh? They really did. And something similar could be seen at the end of a year. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be understanding this. Okay. I'm going there, you doing this?
I do the Facebook thing. Anyway, while Peter makes his way to the board, make sure Mindsetters, in fact, not even anyway, make sure that you guys get on the page, get chatting to me, let me know what you guys are thinking. If you're lost anywhere, if you need help, post. That's why the page is there. If you are lost in this entire process, just make sure you let us know so we can go back and cover for you. But make sure you guys talk to each other and tell your friends about this page so you can help each other out. But on that note, this is where I hand over to Peter. Peter, take it away.
All right, folk. Most of you in grade 12 are turning 18 or have turned 18. And it's normally at that stage that you start thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have a motor car? In fact, I think every boy thinks that from the time he's 12 years old. But now that you're 18, you're thinking, should I get a car? Shouldn't I get a car? How wonderful wouldn't it be? One of my folks can afford to get me one, okay? And so this question is all about a guy called Jan. And Jan is going out and he sees a car that he really likes. He likes it so much and he so wants to buy this car. Okay, so let's have a look at the question. For his 18th birthday, Jan's parents buy him a 1.6 Toyota Corolla petrol engine. Folks, that's phenomenal. I'm going to trade my parents in because, holy cow, if you got parents that are buying you a Toyota Corolla 1.6, that's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so he buys him a 1.6 Toyota Corolla and it's a petrol engine. Now, I wonder why the examiner has told us it's a petrol engine. That's interesting. I wonder why the examiner's told us it's a 1.6 engine. Is that just information they've put out there, or are we going to use it later on? That'll be interesting. Now, the car costs 189,000 Rand. That's probably going to be important. His parents decide not to pay cash for the vehicle. And so they put down a 20% deposit. Now, I want to talk about a deposit. Folks, there are two types of deposits. Okay, and I've got to clear this up because I had students of mine in grade 12 who were saying, sir, hold on, let's talk about this deposit. What do you mean by that? So there are two types of deposit. Let's say I go on holiday, right? And I'm going to stay in a chalet, right? And I get there and the guy says to me, here's the key, but before we give you the key, you must give us a deposit of 100 Rand. And when you've finished your holiday and you come back and you give me the key back, I will give you your 100 Rand back to you. Now that's one type of deposit where people keep some money as a security. All right, so make sure you bring that back. If you go off to Durban and you try and hire a little boogie board, they'll say, cool, you can hire this boogie board, but we want 200 Rand from you. Once you've had a great day in the sea, come back, give us our boogie board back, and we'll give you your 200 Rand back. Why do they do that? They do that because if they didn't do that, guess what? they'll be short of a boogie board, won't they? You'll take it, you'll run, and you'll have a wonderful time. Not you, but other people, because you people watching would never do anything like it, but you get other people like it who would do that. So that's one type of a deposit. Another type of a deposit is, for example, if you're buying a car. If I'm buying a car, the dealer may say to me, listen, we want a amount of money from you, and we're not going to give it back to you ever. But what we will do is we will take that deposit and we will subtract it from the amount of money you owe us. Got that? 2 deposits. One is as a security. The other one, they're taking the money from you just so they make sure you're serious about this deal and make sure you don't run off with the car. But they're going to take that deposit off your final amount that you owe for the car. Right. Next thing. They've got to pay a 20% deposit. Right. And pay the remaining amount off with a hire purchase agreement of 16% per annum, compounded monthly, over 3 years. Now, grade 12, at this stage, you should know that things like monthly should set off alarm bells in your head, right? Things like per annum, 16% per annum, compounded monthly, over 3 years. Those are 3 vital bits of information that should be setting off alarms in your head, saying, no, I'm going to use that. Okay? Right. Jan, who lives in Johannesburg, well, I wonder if that's important. Let's see. Jan, who lives in Johannesburg, is thrilled with his new car, and he expects to travel approximately 1,540 kilometers every month. Now, what deposit does Jan's parents put down on the vehicle? A mere little 2 marks. Because it's 2 marks, I realize there's not a lot of work into that question. Let's try and figure it out. So we know his deposit is what? Let's have a look at the question again. It's going to be 20%. So we are trying to find 20% of what that car cost us. And how much did that car cost us? Let's have a look here. It cost us 189,000 Rand. So 189,000 Rand equals, out comes our calculator. And we are going to say, right, I want to find 20% of 189,000 Rand equals 37,800 Rand. 37,800 Rand. So what's that mean? That means Jan's parents have gone off to the dealer, said, listen, I want to buy this vehicle. It costs 189,000. Guys, I'm sorry, I don't have 189,000 Rand. But I want the vehicle now. My son needs it. It's his 18th birthday. I want to give him the car. The dealer says, okay, cool, you can take the car, but we want a 20% deposit. So Jan's parents go off to the bank, and they've now got to find 37,800 Rand, which they've got to give to the dealer. Are we clear on that? What's our next question? Our next question now is this. How much do they still owe for the vehicle? Well, we know that the vehicle cost 189,000 Rand, but we're going to subtract the deposit. Right. Now, this is the point in the program where I make sure that Ty has been focused and interesting, because I'm going to ask him so that I don't have to go back a page. Ty, what was the deposit? All right, Ty has no idea. Ty will now start to concentrate, okay, and be with us. Okay, I know it was 37,800 Rand. Agreed? So now, we owe 189,000 Rand on the vehicle. We're paying off 37,800. How much more do we still owe on that vehicle? So we've got 189,000 minus that wonderful amount of 37,800. And we realize he owes 151,200 200. Have you got a Word document there or something you can open up, Ty? And just remember, because we're going to be jumping backwards and forwards with these. Cool.
Okay, all right.
So 151,200 Rand.
151,200 Rand.
Happy? Of course we are. Okay. Now we're going to start getting more complicated. Let's have a look at this question. This question asks us the following. How much will the parents pay on the hire purchase agreement every single month? Now, folks, what I haven't shown you is this page. This page, which has just come up on your screen now, is a whole lot of information that came along with this set of questions. And the first bit of information says this, hire purchase. Let's just underline it. Hire purchase, okay, is equal to, there it is, PV equals X, bracket, 1 minus X plus R over 100, close brackets, minus N all over R over 100, where PV is the loan amount, so that's how much we need to loan from the bank. X is my monthly repayment. And guys, what was my question? My question is, how much is his parents going to pay every month? So what are we actually trying to calculate here? We are going to have to calculate this X right over there. Now, my giddy aunt, when I look at that formula, my head begins to spin. When my matrics looked at that formula, their first reaction was, "Oi, we haven't seen this before. How dare you give it to us?" Well, they didn't say that because otherwise I would have sent them out the class. But they said, "Excuse me, sir, we haven't seen this before. Would you mind explaining this for us?" Okay. And guys, in matric syllabus, one of the things you got to be able to do is this whole thing of substitution. So you may just get a formula at the end of the year which you've never seen before, but you're required to be able to substitute. As long as we as examiners, or the examiners, give you this bit of information where they tell you what all these different things actually mean. Okay, now what are we going to do? We've got to now calculate that value of the X. So let's try and rewrite this entire formula. It could take us a while, but let's do it. So we've got X. Let's just jump to our other page. We've got PV equals X. Then we've got this huge bracket. And what do we have inside this bracket? We've got 1 minus, so let's put that in quickly. 1, let's get a pen. 1 minus bracket, and then it gives it to us and says 1 plus R over 100. 1 plus R over 100, close brackets, to the minus N. You've never seen that before, have you? That's a new one, hey? To the minus N. But remember, it's a formula, and all we're going to have to do is substitute the values. All right, what else does the formula say? It then says all over R over 100. All over R over 100 and close brackets. Let's just double check that we've written it down correctly, because if we haven't, we've got a problem. So it's x1 minus all that minus n over r over 100, x1 minus, okay, great, we've got it down. Now that we've got our formula, let's begin to put the pieces in. What's PV mean? PV means the amount of money that we actually owe. How much did we owe for the car?
151,200.
Right, 151,200 Rand equals X. What's my X mean? My X is the amount I'm going to pay every month, and that's what I'm trying to calculate. Okay, now, 1 is easy. 1 is 1, minus 1 plus R, my rate of interest. What was my rate of interest? Okay, the rate of interest is 16% compounded monthly. So I've got 16%, which is 16 over 100. But, folk, I'm not calculating it once a year. I'm calculating it 12 times a year. For how many years? For 3 years. So it's 12 in the 1 year, 12 in the next year, 12 in the third. This is like playing the piano, isn't it? Okay? 12 in the 1 year, 12 in the next year, 12 in the final year. 12, 24, 36. So I've now got to the all over 36 to the power of minus. Okay, sorry, I'm lying. It's 12, hey? It's to 36 months we're doing it, but, oh dear, the teacher's made a mistake. But it's over 12, because we're calculating it 12 times a year. Got that? If it was compounded biannually, all right, or twice a year, then we would divide that interest by 2. If we were doing it quarterly, we divide that interest by 4. But we're doing it monthly, so we're dividing that interest by 12. And you remember why we do that, hey? If I go into a bank and I say to a bank guy, here's some money, how much interest you going to give me? And he says, you know what, we'll give you 10% interest a year. And I thought, well, that's fantastic. And at the end of the first month I go and I say, I want my money back and I want my 10% interest. He's going to say, no, hold on. Whoa. You've only had your money with us for 1 month. We're only giving you a 12th of that interest. And that's why when we're calculating interest every month, we're only calculating 12th of that whole interest. So we're dividing it by 12. Now, all over what? All over my 16 over 100. And again, we're dividing it by 12. Now what we have to do is now we've got to take this whole thing here, okay, and we've now got to slap that into my computer, or rather into my calculator. It's like we need a computer to do this, but we've only got a calculator. And that's exactly what I'm going to do after the break. Okay, because it's going to take me a while, and then we're going to run over time, and then my producer's going to get annoyed with me. So after the break, then, we're going to look at this whole section over here, and we're going to plug it into our calculator, and hopefully get a kind of answer that makes sense. Time.
All right. So mindsetters, you know what to do. Don't disappear. Make sure you get on the page. I'm monitoring the page, so mindsetters, keep talking to me. Even if you're just following along, make sure that you at least talk to me. Just say, yes, thumbs up, we got it, we're good, keep going. Even like just intervals of like 10, 20 minutes. Just tell me like, okay, we got it, we're cool, we're here, we're watching. That will just let me know that you guys are on. But other than that, I just want to say, we'll see you after this break. And welcome back, Mindsetters. Hope you had a nice little break there. And you're back, you're ready, you got your pens, pads out, and you're going to make some notes. Make sure that you talk to me on the page. I cannot stress that enough. I'm seeing a lot of action, and I like it. Mindsetters, just keep it up, keep going. But for now, this is where I hand over to Peter. Peter, take it away.
Right, folks. So before the break, what we were doing was we came across a formula that was absolutely horrific. We've never seen anything like that before in our lives, but we could encounter something like that at the end of the year as long as an examiner tells us what all those different things mean. So we came across this huge formula. We've done a whole lot of substitution, and what I'm now going to do is, with the use of my calculator, I'm going to try and calculate this whole thing in this huge square. Now, folk, the real secret behind getting this right is typing on my calculator exactly what I see on my paper in front of me. In my case, on my screen next to me. So let's have a look at it. Right, first thing, we've got a fraction button. There it is, over there. On the top line, I've got 1 minus. I'm going to open the brackets. I've got 1 plus. I've got a fraction button, and I've got another fraction button on top of that. I've got 16 over 100, and that is all over 12. We're then going to close that bracket, and it's to the power of negative 36. Okay, negative 36. Now we just got to do the bottom part. So let's go all the way to the bottom. And I've got a fraction button. And on the top of that fraction, I have another fraction button. And I've got 16 over 100 all over 12. And now I'm going to push the equals button. And guys, this is where I hope I get it right. Okay, so we push equals, and there's our answer. 28,4438. Now, straight away, I know I've made a mistake. Why do I know I've made a mistake? Because there's no way I'm going to pay 44 or 28 Rand 44 repayment on a vehicle that cost me 152,000 Rand. So somewhere along the lines, I've actually made a mistake with my calculation. So I'm going to try and figure out where I went wrong. Okay, so let's try that again. And if it's wrong, it means I've made a mistake when I copied down my whole formula. So let's do that. So I'm going to say, right, fraction button, 1 minus, open brackets. Now, guys, I'm going to cheat a little bit. And what I'm going to tell you is this, that 16%, or 16 over 100, can also be written as 0.16. And that's something we do mainly in matric. We don't normally write it as 16 over 100 anymore. We'd write it as 0.16. Let's do it like that and see if our life's made a little bit easier with our calculator, shall we? So I've got 1 minus 1 plus, I'm going to put fraction button, 0.16 all over 12, close my bracket, say to the power of negative 36, all over fraction button, 0.16 over 12 months again equals, and I'm still getting 28,44, which means somehow we messed up with the formula which we looked at. So when we take our next ad break, I'm going to have to check that out and find out what went wrong. Luckily, I know the answer, and I know the answer should have been around about 5,200 Rand, somewhere in that vicinity over there. So I apologize for that, but you know what, sometimes these kind of things happen. And the great thing about it, if we had the time, what I would now do is I'd go back to my formula and try and figure out what I had actually copied down incorrect. 1 minus that, all that. You know what? I've actually copied it down 100% correctly. It just seems, though, that maybe somewhere along the lines, you know what, folk? I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. Let's get excited. We got 28,44. Look what I'm doing. I'm being absolutely silly about this. So we've got 151,200 equals X. And we got an answer here of, what was it? 28,4438. I'm going to try and keep it as 28,44. So 28,44. Right. But it's X times the 28,44. I just want X by itself. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, right, so the X is going to be 151,200 divided by 28,44, whatever it is. So let's do that on our calculator. So we got 151,200 divided by our answer, whatever it was, and there it is. Sure, thank goodness. I thought I was going senile. My wife tells me I am, and now I thought, oh, maybe she's got a point here. But what I didn't realize was I had just calculated the 28,44. That wasn't the monthly repayments. That was X times a certain factor, and I still had to divide by that factor. And that's what I've done, and I've now got my answer as 5,315 Rand 74 cents. So I'm now paying
5,315 Rand and 74 cents.
Okay. 5,300
and 15 Rand and 74 cents.
Brilliant. Okay. Sure, that was a tough one, hey? Absolutely. Guys, that is like the examiner when he set that, and I hate to say this, but like I told you, I set this one because I gave it to my class. When I set that, boy, I was in a foul mood when I set that paper. Not only was I in a foul mood, but I thought, my guys need a bit of a wake-up call. Let's slap this one in. Because, sure, that is a mission and a half. But 5,315 Rand and 74 cents. Okay, our next question. In fact, we did have a question from a viewer, and I just want to go back to that quickly, where a viewer asked us, what is the difference between compound interest and simple interest?
That was Tembekile.
Tembekile. All right. So what is the difference between compound interest and simple interest? Guys, I'm glad you're asking these questions. All right, because this is vital information, and by now we should understand the difference between simple and compound. But if you don't, I'm glad you asked it, because if you ask it after you've written your exam, well, then it's too late. So, what's the difference between simple interest and compound? Time. If I had to borrow 10 Rand from you, are you going to charge me interest?
Depending on the situation, probably.
Okay, cool. He's going to charge me interest. Ty, how much interest are you going to charge me if I borrow 100 Rand from you?
10.
10%. Okay. So I go to Ty and I say, Ty, I want to borrow 100 Rand from you. And he says, absolutely fine, 10%. Okay. So what happens? I go to Ty, borrow the money, and it's 10% a day. Hey, you're rather a horrible person. Okay, so he says 10% a day. So I go to Ty, I say I got 100 Rand, and the next day I go and I don't give him the 100 Rand. Okay? How much interest do I owe him on day one? I owe him 10 Rand, because 10% of 100 is 10 Rand. Okay. The second day, I see Ty and think, eesh, I forgot the money. I'm going to duck and dive him, right? How much do I owe him for that day? Another 10 Rand, okay? So day 2, I owe him another 10 Rand. On day 3, I see Ty and say, hey, my brother, I got your money for you. But he says, hold on. You've had my money for 3 days. Day 1, 10 Rand. Day 2, 10 Rand interest. Day 3, 10 Rand interest. So you owe me a total of 30 Rand interest. Added to the 100 Rand you owed me, or you borrowed from me in the first place, you now owe me 130 Rand. Ish. That is simple interest. When we're calculating the interest only on the amount of money that we owe Ty. I go to Ty again. Ty, can I borrow money from you?
No problem.
Can I borrow 100 Rand from you, Ty?
No problem.
How much interest, Ty?
10% interest.
Okay. But now instead of simple interest, you're going to say 10%?
Compound interest.
Ah. And I say, yeah, okay, cool, bro. Don't know what it means, but cool. That's nice. Okay. So day 1, I see Ty. Now, what is 10% of 100 Rand? It's 10 Rand. So I owe him 10 Rand interest. By the end of day 1, though, I don't just owe Ty the 10 Rand, but also the 100 Rand I borrowed from him, so I actually owe him 110 Rand. Day 2's interest is now not 10 Rand, because compound interest means I'm charging interest not only on the amount of money that I lent you, but also on the interest that's gathering up upon that money that I owe you. So the next day, my interest is 10%, not of the 100 Rand, but of the 110 Rand. So my interest now is 11 Rand, because 10% of 110 Rand is 11 Rand. And the next day, I duck and dive him, I don't see him. The third day, I go to Ty. Now, remember at the end of the second day, how much do I owe Ty? I now owe him 11 plus that is 121 Rand. Okay, 11 Rand plus 110 Rand. The third day, what interest have I got to pay? Well, I'm now going to pay him interest on 121 Rand. So I'm now going to pay him 12 Rand 10 cents interest. So I go to town, I say, here's money I owe you. It's day 3. Here's 130 Rand, my brew. And he says, hey, listen, don't you brew me, pal. You owe me more than 130 Rand. How much do I owe you? Well, day 1, the interest was 10 Rand. Day 2, it was 11 Rand. Day 3 was 12 Rand 10. Let's add it up. That's 10, 3, 33 Rand 10 cents interest. You actually owe me 133 Rand 10 cents. An extra 3 Rand 10 cents. That's the difference, folk, between simple interest and compound interest. Okay? Where simple interest, we're just calculating the interest on the money that is owed to us. All right? Whereas compound interest, we calculating the interest not only on the money that we owe someone or that somebody owes us, but also on the interest that's gathering upon that money. And then the other most important difference as well is the formulas when we're calculating that interest. So when I calculate interest, simple interest is going to be P times N times I. Compound interest, what we're actually saying is this, my compound interest, I'm going to say that we've got A is equal to P1 plus I all to the power of N. And so we get 2 entirely different formulas in working out the difference between simple interest and compound interest. To answer your question a little bit more though, what I've got to say is this. That normally what happens in this question, they will say calculate the simple interest if, and then they give you the formula. Okay? Or calculate compounded interest if, and then they give you the compound formula. So there shouldn't really be too much of a problem of knowing, am I dealing simple, am I dealing compound? I've got 3 minutes before this break, so what I'm going to do is I'm also going to show you the difference between simple and compound interest on graphs. And let's have a look at this. With simple interest, if I had to draw this, I would show simple interest like this. This is the amount of money that I borrowed. So I took 100 Rand from Ty, okay? And on day 1, I now owed him 110 Rand. On day 2, I now owed him 120 Rand. And on day 3, I now owed him 130 Rand. Okay. So there's a consistency with the interest. It's 10 Rand, 10 Rand, 10 Rand, 10 Rand. And remember, when I've got a graph, if I've got a straight line, it means there's something that is consistent. With my compound interest, if I had to do that, I would say, right, we're starting off here on 100 Rand. Okay. On day 1, we owe 110 Rand. That's kind of easy. On day 2, so we're starting there, day 1. On day 2, we don't owe 110 Rand. We go a little steeper, and we said we now owe 121 Rand. Okay? So the graph now gets a little bit steeper. On day 3 now, we don't quite owe 130, but now it's come to 133 Rand and, what was it? 133 Rand and 10 cents. Okay. And so the graph now is getting, so my graph now begins to get a bit of a curve. And that's how I can tell the difference between simple interest and compound interest, looking at graphs. Simple interest, straight line. Compound, slight curve. Okay. I hope that answers our question. All right. Can we ask, what was her name again?
That was from, I'm scanning down the page, Tembekile.
Okay, so Tembekile, I hope we've answered your question there. Please let us know. All right. If not, let us know as well. And then maybe we can type you something and give you another kind of explanation. All right. I know I've got a 1 minute, but is it possible for us to take a break?
I think so.
Before
I think
we
that'd
carry
be a
on
good
with
idea.
the next question? Because otherwise I'm just going to get started and we're going to have to take a break.
So it's probably a good idea to do that now.
Yeah.
So, mindsetters, you heard Peter. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you come back here with your pens and pads and ready to make notes. But for now, this is where I say, see you after this break. And welcome back, Mindsetters. Hope you had a nice little break there. You're back, you're ready, you're good to go. You've gone and did whatever you had to do. If you had to go get a snack, if you had to go get water, you're into the bathroom. Now you need to pay attention, be back, you're ready. If mom says you have to cut the onions, be like, wait, just give me 20 minutes. Just give me 20 minutes and I'll be there. But now you need to pay attention, pen, pad out with your phone so you can chat to us. But for now, I hand over to Peter.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Peter. All right. Hi there, guys. So we were looking at a number of things. We got a little bit sidetracked in our question because it was all about Jan buying a car. And Jan goes off, he doesn't buy the car, his parents bought the car. And so we had to calculate the amount of deposit he paid. And then we had to go on and calculate the amount of money that he's actually still owed for the vehicle. All right. Then we had to calculate the monthly repayments his parents were going to pay on that vehicle in order to pay it off over the 3-year period. And worked out to around about 5,300 odd rand a month to pay it off over 3 years. Okay. What you do need to understand when you're paying off a vehicle is this, that I can choose to pay my vehicle off 24 months, 36 months, 48 months, okay, 60 months or 72 months. In other words, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years. Now, the longer I take to pay it off, my installments every month are going to come lower, okay? They're going to get lower and lower and lower and lower. But because I'm paying them off over a longer period of time, I'm actually going to land up paying more for the vehicle. So the longer I finance that vehicle for, the more it's going to cost me. Right. Let's read this. I'm not going to read this whole thing here. We've read it all before. So let's just go straight for the question. Determine the monthly fixed costs of the vehicle. Whoa, what are we talking about now? Suddenly there's a question that says, determine the monthly fixed costs. What are these fixed costs? And what am I talking about? Because I've now already worked out what I'm paying for this vehicle every month. Now you're telling me there are other costs. And there are, hey? There's another 2 sets of costs. Something called fixed costs and something called running costs. Now, what are fixed costs? Well, when you buy a vehicle, folk, the vehicle is going to depreciate in value. What do I mean by depreciate? Well, it's going to lose value. So if I buy a car and it cost me, let's say, 189,000 Rand, and I drive it around very merrily, okay, after a year, I go back to the shop and I say, okay, I don't like the car anymore. Take it back, please. I want my 189,000 Rand back. They're going to say, whoa, 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 whoa. This car's a year old. This car's been traveling so many kilometers. This car's got a little dent here and a little scratch here. This car has lost value. And if you're my mother-in-law, this car has a huge smash in here and a huge dent in here, and this wheel doesn't work, and you've got a rectangular wheel here and a square wheel here and around. What a mess of a car. Do you really think we're going to give you 189,000 Rand back? Not a chance. Okay. So even if I look after the vehicle, even if I say, hey, Peter's mother-in-law may never drive my vehicle, it's still going to lose value. Are we clear on that? Okay. So those are our fixed costs, which we are now beginning to lose. So how do we calculate fixed costs? Well, the AA come up with a wonderful table, and by using this table, you're able to see how much your car's actually costing you for every kilometer that you drive. So let's look at this question. Determine the monthly fixed costs for the vehicle. Now, let's look at this table that the AA give us. And here's the table. Average fixed costs table. I want you to take note that we're talking about cents per kilometer. There was a question very similar to this some years ago in one of the IB papers, okay? And it was this spoke about cents per kilometer, and so many students got that so confused because they didn't realize they were working in cents. So please understand we're dealing with cents. Now, in order to work out the fixed costs, what we've got to know is 2 things. we've got to know what was the purchase price of that vehicle and how much distance is covered in a year. So once we know what the purchase price is, once we know how much distance is covered in a year, then we can actually work out how much it's costing us, what the fixed costs are per kilometer when we drive. So first thing, purchase price. How much did our vehicle cost? Do you remember? It cost us 189,000 Rand. I'm not talking about the price after the deposit. The car was still valued when I bought it at 189,000 Rand. So I realized 189,000 Rand fits in here between 150,001 Rand up to 200,000 Rand. So our answer is going to come somewhere from either 415 cents, 205 cents, 160 cents, or 120 cents. How are we going to work it out? We need to know how much distance is covered per year, because it says annual. So let's go back to our question and let's try and figure this out. It says here that Jan lives in Johannesburg and is thrilled with his new car, and he expects to travel approximately 1,540 kilometers every month. We're not interested in the month, eh? We are interested in the year. So if on average he's going to do 1,540 kilometers, how much is he doing in a year? Well, how many months are in a year? There are 12 months in the year. So 1,540 kilometers times that by 12. So we're going to multiply that now by 12, and we're going to get an answer of 18,480 kilometers. I'm going to write that up here.
18,480 kilometers.
480 kilometers per year. Okay. Now let's go back to our table. And our table is saying, what was it? 18,000 and something. All right. So 18,000 and something fits into this block here. Oi, let's get it in green. Fits into somewhere in that column. Now, where does that column and that row overlap? Okay, the column and the row overlap. They overlap at this point over here. In fact, hold on, I'm wrong. It's this column, hey? Jeez, I'm making careless mistakes today, aren't I? Okay, 18,000 fits in here, so it's this value over here, 205 cents. So every kilometer that Jan travels with his 1.6 Toyota Corolla, it's costing him 205 cents. So let's go back to our question. Our question is, determine the monthly fixed costs. Well, we know we are paying 205 cents per kilometer. How many kilometers are we doing in a month? We are doing 1,540 kilometers. Now, let's get our calculator and multiply that out quickly. So with our calculator, we got 205 cents. Multiply by 1,540, and we get an answer of, can you remember this? 315,700. 315,700. Let's write that down. 315,700. 315,700 what, folk? Cents, eh? And this is what caught so many of my students who I gave this assignment to. So 315,700 cents. Oi, hold on. Let's give this in rands and cents. What's that mean? It means now that how many cents in a rand? There are 100. How do I change cents to a rand? I divide by 100. So when I divide this by 100, let's do it on our calculator as well. Why? Just because I want to. Divide that by 100, and I'm going to land up with 3,157 rand. 3,157 rand. Geez, folk, that is scary, hey? Because besides paying my monthly installment of 5,000 and something, if I travel 1,540 kilometers, according to the AA, I should put away 3,157 Rand in a little bottle. Why? Because when I want to buy a new car much later on, I'm going to take my car, use it as a deposit, take this bottle where I'm putting money in, and how much am I putting in? I'm putting 2 Rand 5 cents or 205 cents or 2 Rand 5 cents in a bottle for every kilometer I travel. And I'm keeping all that there. When I buy a new car, give the dealer my old car plus this bottle of money, and I shouldn't have to pay anything else for the new car. Sure. Okay. Now, my next question. My next question is going to be this. Determine the monthly running costs of my vehicle. Now, what are running costs? Folk, it speaks for itself, eh? When I'm driving a car, there's certain things on that car that are not going to, or that are going to give me trouble. For example, when I buy a car, I look at the tires and say, "Jeez, these tires, they're brand new. Check your tread on my wheels, boy." Okay? After a year, I'm saying, tread's going away here. Things are not too good. After 2 years, it's like, "Eesh, is there any tread on this tire?" After 3 years, they lock me up and take me to jail because I'm driving a vehicle that's very dangerous. All right, so my car's got certain running costs. The tires are going to cost me. The maintenance of the vehicle. Every now and then, I've got to take this car for a service. That's going to end up costing me. But the most important running costs of all is the petrol or the diesel I've got to put in. And as you know, that is going to cost you an absolute fortune. All right. So let's have a look at the table that the AA give us to try and work out how they calculate the running costs. And here's the table here. Running costs, I've got to know the following. I've got to know the engine capacity of my vehicle. What size vehicle am I dealing with? So let's go back to the question, and you already know the answer because we've read this question quite a bit. His parents buy him a 1.6. Okay, 1.6 Toyota Corolla. So let's go back to our table. And a 1.6 is what? A 1.6 is also known as a 1,600 cc. Okay, so a 1,600 cc fits in over here, in this line here. Okay, so I know these are the values I'm going to be dealing with. Right, how do I calculate the running costs? Here's a formula given to us right here. Look at it. It says the running costs, and again emphasize that we're dealing in cents per kilometer, not rands per kilometer, but cents per kilometer. So what we're saying is this: we're going to take A, whatever A is. In this case, our A is 0.0997 times by the petrol price. We're going to add B, whatever B is, and in our case, it's 16,74. And then we're going to add C, and C is 13,71. So let's do that. I'm going back to our question, and I'm going to write the answer underneath here. So we said our running costs is equal to A times the petrol price plus B plus C equals, right, what is my A value? And our diagram here will give it to us. Our A value, in this case, because we're dealing with a 1600, and a 1600 fits in over here, our A value is 0.0997. Will you remember that, Ty? 0.0997. Right, let's go. And it is, what's the time?
0.0997.
Okay, you don't have to remember the number, just the tune, hey? No. Okay, times my petrol price. Now, what is the price of petrol? Well, let's have a look at what the AA are telling us. And the AA, which stands for the Automobile Association, we're not talking about Alcohol Anonymous, otherwise it won't have petrol, it will have the price of liquor. Hey? So we're dealing with petrol. So the AA are telling us this. they've given us 4 different values. They're giving us the price for petrol and the price for diesel. And the petrol, they're giving us 2 other prices. They're telling us the price for the inland and price for coastal. Now, what's inland and what's coastal? Folk, whoa. Inland, or rather coastal, are the price of petrol by the coast. Okay? And that's normally a bit cheaper than the price of petrol inland. In other words, up here in Johannesburg, here in Randburg, and that's where we're coming to you from, live here on Thursday afternoon from Randburg. Here in Randburg, we're inland. In other words, when the petrol arrives in the Durban harbour or the Cape Town harbour or whatever harbour it arrives in, they've got to put that petrol in tankers, and they've got to drive these huge tanker trucks. Are they called tankers? I don't know. Trucks. Tanker trucks, and they're driving them all the way up to Joburg. And so that's going to cost more. And that's why if you look here, inland, 825 cents, coastal, 805 cents. Okay. Now, we need to determine Jan's car. Is it a petrol car? Is it diesel? And is Jan living inland or is he living on the coast? So let's go back to our question. And our question, and here she is here. So, Jan, who lives in Johannesburg. Can you see this? Jan, where's it gone? What happened to Jan? Here's Jan. Jan, who lives in Johannesburg. So if he lives in Joburg, we know he lives inland. So if you look at the whole of South Africa, Joburg over here in the middle, inland. Okay? And he's got his new car. Now, do we know if it's petrol or diesel? Yes, we do. We told over there. His parents buy him a 1.6 Toyota Corolla petrol engine. So we're dealing with petrol, we're dealing with Joburg. Let's see if we can find out what the price is, okay? We're dealing with petrol. Let's get a color here, yellow. We're dealing with petrol. We're dealing with Johannesburg. So we're dealing 825, right? Wish, obviously this question was set last year or something because that's not the price of petrol nowadays.
Not by a long shot.
Not by a long shot. Okay, so 825. So times 825 plus my value for B. What is my value for B? My value for B is 16,74. So we're going to add 16,74 plus C. What's my value for C? In this case, it's 13,71. So we're going to add 13,71. Now, folk, we're just going to do it with our calculator. So let's do that. Out comes my calculator, and we say, right, we've got 0.0997 multiplied by 825. To that, we're going to add 16.74. To that, we're going to add 13.71. And we get an answer of 112,7025. I will not remember that. You've got to remember that, okay? 112,7025. So
112,7025.
Okay. And it's cents. How do we change it to rand? We divide by 100. So in dividing it by 100, we're saying it's going to cost me 1 rand 13 cents per kilometer. Now, how many kilometers did he do in a month? Do you remember? It was 1574 times 12. So it's going to be times 1540 times 12. And then we're going to work out the answer. I can't talk anymore. Our time's run out. I can't believe it's happened to me again. I've run out of time. But guys, running costs, fixed costs. Your car costs you a lot of money. Time.
Yes. So mindsetters, if you had fun with this in this lesson like we'd had, make sure you just get on the page, talk to each other, and do not forget, mindsetters, that especially Matrix, you guys need to tune in 1st of October for the spring score. It's so important that you guys do. It's going to be so helpful for you guys getting ready for your exams. It's so important. I cannot stress it enough.
And in fact, maths literacy is on Monday from 3:30 to 5 o'clock, and that's when I'll see you again.
All right. So for me, this is where I sign off and say thank you and see you next time. Cheers.